It was just another Tuesday afternoon in a quiet Fresno neighborhood. The kind of day where the loudest sound is usually a lawnmower or kids playing down the street. Then, everything changed in an instant. A deafening blast ripped through the air, shaking homes and rattling windows for blocks. People ran out of their houses, confused and scared, trying to figure out what just happened. That is, when they saw it. A two-story home on North Del Mar Avenue was engulfed in a terrifying inferno. Flames were shooting high into the sky, so intense that they looked like they were trying to touch the clouds. A massive plume of thick, black smoke billowed upwards, visible for miles around. It was a scene straight out of a disaster movie, but this was horrifyingly real for the residents of this peaceful community. The initial explosion was so powerful it blew out the front windows of the house, sending glass and debris flying across the street. The garage door was buckled and twisted like a piece of paper. First responders were on the scene in minutes. Firefighters immediately started battling the blaze, dousing the home with thousands of gallons of water. But the fire, fueled by a ruptured gas line, was relentless. You could hear the constant, angry roar of the gas feeding the flames. It was a dangerous and unpredictable situation. Fire crews had to work cautiously, not just to put out the fire, but to prevent it from spreading to neighboring houses, which were terrifyingly close. Police quickly cordoned off the area, evacuating nearby homes to ensure everyone's safety. As the chaos unfolded, the human side of the story began to emerge. Neighbors gathered at a safe distance, watching in shock and disbelief. They spoke of the family who lived in the house, hoping and praying they were safe. Miraculously, initial reports confirmed that the residents were not home at the time of the explosion. A collective sigh of relief went through the crowd, but the sight of the family's home being devoured by flames was still heartbreaking. Everything they owned, their memories, their sense of security, all gone up in smoke. This incident is a stark reminder of how quickly life can change, and the hidden dangers that can exist right under our feet. Our thoughts are with the family affected by this devastating event and the entire Fresno community. A huge thank you to the brave firefighters and first responders who ran towards the danger to keep everyone else safe. If you found this report informative, please like and subscribe for more updates. Stay safe. Out there, the tires screeched against the asphalt, the sound lost beneath the roar. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat against the symphony of chaos. I slammed the car door shut, my feet hitting the pavement before I'd even fully processed what I was seeing. The evening sky, usually a gentle canvas of twilight purples and blues, was now a violent, pulsating orange. Smoke, thick and black, clawed its way into the air, choking the stars. It was my house, my home, engulfed in a furious dance of flames. The heat hit me like a physical blow, pushing me back. It was an inferno, a living, breathing monster devouring everything I owned, everything I'd built. Memories turned to ash before my very eyes. The porch swing where Sarah and I had our first real conversation. The window I'd look out of every morning while sipping my coffee. The roof we'd spent an entire summer patching up ourselves. All gone. Or going. Screams tore through the air, sharp and desperate. It wasn't just the fire. It was the sound of my neighborhood, my community, unraveling. I saw Mrs. Gable from next door, her face a mask of horror, clutching her phone, her voice a thin, reedy cry for help. Young Timmy from across the street was sobbing in his mother's arms, pointing a trembling finger at the blaze. Their panic was a mirror of my own, a collective terror that bound us together in this nightmare. My legs felt like lead, but I forced them to move, stumbling closer. "Is anyone inside?" The words ripped from my throat, raw and hoarse. I searched the faces around me, a desperate plea in my eyes. The roar of the fire was the only answer for a moment, a deafening declaration of its power. I could feel the radiant heat scorching my skin, my eyes watering from the acrid smoke. Every instinct screamed at me to run, to get away, but my feet were rooted to the spot, my gaze locked on the skeletal remains of what was once my sanctuary. The world had narrowed to this single, horrifying scene, and all I could do was watch it burn. If you enjoy stories that get your heart racing, make sure to follow for more. Thanks for watching. Thick, black smoke billowed from the second-floor windows, a terrifying sight against the otherwise clear blue sky. On the street below, a crowd had gathered, their faces a mixture of horror and helplessness. All eyes were fixed on one particular window, where a faint silhouette could just be seen through the choking haze. A child, a little girl, trapped and alone. The air was filled with panicked shouts and the distant wail of sirens, growing louder with each passing second. People were pointing, their voices a frantic chorus. "Look, up! There's a girl in the window." Time seemed to slow down, each moment stretching into an eternity. The smoke grew thicker, almost completely obscuring the small figure from view. It felt like the entire neighborhood was holding its breath, praying for a miracle. Then they arrived. The fire truck screeched to a halt, and firefighters jumped out, their movements precise and practiced even in the chaos. They were a beacon of hope in a scene of despair. Without a moment's hesitation, one firefighter, equipped with an axe and breathing apparatus, started positioning a ladder against the side of the burning building. The crowd watched, silent now, their hopes pinned on this brave individual. He began to climb, each rung a step closer to the trapped child. The heat was intense. You could feel it even from the street, and flames were now licking at the window frame where the girl was. He reached the window, smashed the glass with his axe, and disappeared into the suffocating darkness. The seconds felt like hours. The crowd below was a sea of anxious faces, all staring at that dark, empty window. Was he too late? Did he find her? Then, just as despair began to creep back in, a figure emerged from the smoke. It was the firefighter, and cradled safely in his arms was the little girl. A wave of relief and applause washed over the crowd. He carefully carried her down the ladder, her small face smudged with soot but otherwise unharmed. He handed her over to the paramedics who were waiting below, and as he did, the little girl turned and wrapped her arms around his neck in a tight hug. In that single moment, amidst the smoke and chaos, we saw the very best of humanity. It's a powerful reminder of the incredible courage of our first responders. Thank you for watching. If you were moved by this story, please like and subscribe for more. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we re-diving into a story that really makes you question what you'd do in a moment of crisis. Picture this. A quiet, suburban street, the kind you see in movies, suddenly thrown into chaos. Thick, black smoke is billowing from the windows of a two-story house, flames starting to lick the roof. Neighbors are out on their lawns, phones in hand, sirens wailing in the distance, but everyone is frozen, watching in horror. The air is thick with the smell of burning wood and something acrid, something chemical. You can feel the heat even from across the street. Inside that house, a family is trapped. Panic is setting in. Now, most people would wait for the professionals, and that's the smart thing to do. Firefighting is a job for trained heroes, but sometimes a situation becomes so desperate that an ordinary person is forced to make an extraordinary choice. That's where our story truly begins. Out of the crowd, one man, his name is Ryan, starts moving. He's not a firefighter. He's just a guy who is jogging by, but he heard the screams. He sprints towards the inferno without a second of hesitation. He reaches the front porch. The heat is intense, like standing in front of an open furnace. The front door is locked. Heavy oak, built to keep people out. Ryan doesn't waste time looking for a key. He shrugs off his jacket, a simple windbreaker, and wraps it around his head and face. It's a flimsy shield against the choking smoke and blistering heat, but it's all he has. He takes a deep breath of the rapidly thinning clean air, plants his feet, and slams his shoulder into the door. Once, twice, on the third try, there's a sickening crack of splintering wood, and the door flies open. A wall of black smoke rushes out to meet him, completely obscuring the entrance. Without hesitating, Ryan plunges into the smoke, disappearing from sight. He's just vanished into the heart of the blaze. What happens next? We'll get into the full rescue in our next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss it. Thanks for watching. The smoke detector screeched, a high-pitched wail that ripped me from a deep sleep. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat in the sudden chaos. The air was thick, heavy with the acrid smell of burning plastic. It was pitch black, a suffocating darkness that swallowed every bit of light. I stumbled out of bed, my feet hitting the cold floor. The heat was already intense, a physical presence pressing in on me from all sides. My eyes stood watering uncontrollably from the smoke. I dropped to my hands and knees, remembering what they teach you. The air was slightly clearer down here, but the heat radiating from the floor was already blistering. Panic was a cold knot in my stomach, but I had to find Ryan. He was in the room across the hall. I crawled out of my bedroom, the hallway, a terrifying tunnel of black. Above me, I could hear it, a horrifying, crackling sound, like a beast chewing on dry leaves. Flickers of orange and yellow started to dance across the ceiling. The fire was alive, spreading with terrifying speed, a fiery serpent slithering across the plaster. It cast dancing shadows on the walls, illuminating the thick, black smoke coiling in the air. "Ryan!" I screamed, my voice raw and hoarse. "Ryan, where are you?" The roar of the fire was deafening, swallowing my words. I couldn't see anything. It felt like I was crawling through a nightmare. "Ryan, answer me." Every instinct screamed at me to turn back, to find a window, to get out. But I couldn't leave him. I pushed forward, the heat searing my skin. The wallpaper was peeling, curling away from the walls like burnt paper. A section of the ceiling groaned, and with a crash, a chunk of burning debris fell just a few feet in front of me, showering the floor with sparks. I recoiled, a yelp escaping my lips. The path ahead was blocked by a wall of flames. "Ryan!" I called out one last time, my voice cracking with desperation and fear. Silence. The only answer was the hungry roar of the fire. My hope began to dwindle, replaced by a cold, heavy dread. I was trapped. This story is a work of fiction, but fire safety is incredibly real. Always have a fire escape plan and practice it with your family. Know your exits, and make sure your smoke detectors are working. If you're ever in a fire, get out and stay out. For more information on fire safety, please check the links in the description below. Stay safe, and thanks for watching. The alley was a labyrinth of shadows and discarded dreams. Each turn a dead end, each corner a fresh wave of despair. Ryan's heart hammered against his ribs, a frantic drumbeat against the silence of the night. He'd been searching for hours, his voice raw from calling her name. Just when a cold dread began to settle in his bones, he saw it a flash of color, a small shape huddled against the grimy brick wall. It was her, curled into a tight ball, her small frame trembling. She looked so fragile, so lost in the vast, uncaring darkness. He approached slowly, his footsteps soft on the cracked pavement, not wanting to startle her. Her face was buried in her knees, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs that tore at his soul. The world had been too cruel, too loud, and she had sought refuge in this forgotten corner. He knelt beside her, his own breath catching in his throat. Words felt clumsy, inadequate. Instead, he slipped off his heavy jacket, the fabric still warm with his own heat, and gently draped it over her. It was a shield, a promise, a tangible piece of comfort in the cold. She flinched at the initial contact, then seemed to melt into the warmth, a soft sigh escaping her lips. Without a word, Ryan carefully slid his arms under her, one beneath her knees, the other supporting her back. He lifted her, as if she were made of glass. She was lighter than he imagined, a testament to the burdens she had been carrying alone for so long. A seal to her head lolled against his shoulder, and her breathing began to even out. The trembling subsided, replaced by a profound stillness. Walking out of that alley, carrying her away from the shadows, Ryan knew this was more than just a rescue. It was a beginning. He was taking her home, not just to a place with four walls and a roof, but to a place of safety, of healing, of hope. In his arms, she was no longer a lost girl in a corner. She was someone cherished, someone protected. And as the first light of dawn painted the sky, he vowed he would never let her feel that cold, that alone, ever again. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a story that's pure, adrenaline, a real edge-of-your-seat moment that shows what people are capable of when lives are on the line. Imagine this. Thick, black smoke is choking the air, pouring from the second story of a suburban house. The fire department is on its way, but every second feels like an eternity. Inside, trapped in a bedroom, a young girl is overcome by the smoke, her chances fading with each passing moment. The heat is unbearable. The flames are closing in, and there seems to be no way out. The front door is blocked, the staircase a roaring inferno. It's a hopeless situation. But then, something incredible happens. A figure emerges through the swirling smoke on the lawn below. It's Ryan, a neighbor who heard the screams. He doesn't hesitate. He doesn't wait for the professionals. He knows that waiting isn't an option. He spots the bedroom window, the only possible escape route, but it's high up and sealed shut. Without a second thought, he starts to climb. Using a drain pipe and the brickwork for holds, he pulls himself up, fighting against the intense heat radiating from the walls. His muscles are screaming, his lungs are burning from the smoke, but he keeps going, fueled by pure determination. He reaches the window. Inside, he can just make out the small, still form of the girl on the floor. The glass is hot to the touch, and there's no time to be gentle. With a powerful, desperate kick, Ryan shatters the window. Glass explodes outwards as he clears the frame. More smoke billows out, a toxic, black cloud. He pulls himself through the jagged opening, ignoring the cuts and the searing heat. He scoops the unconscious girl into his arms, holding her tight. He knows they have one chance, one way out. He turns back to the window, the fire roaring behind them. He takes a deep breath, cradles the child protectively, and leaps. For a breathtaking moment, they are suspended in midair, a silhouette against the fire, before landing on the soft grass below, safe. It's a rescue that defies belief, a testament to everyday heroism. This story just blows my mind every time I think about it. The courage it takes to run towards danger when every instinct is screaming to run away is just on another level. It's a powerful reminder that heroes aren't just in movies. They're all around us, living next door. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. See you next time. Just moments ago, a scene of sheer terror unfolded that has left this entire neighborhood in shock. It all started when smoke began billowing from a third-story window of this apartment building. People on the street looked up in horror, their morning commute instantly forgotten. Flames were soon visible, licking at the window frame, growing more intense with each passing second. Panic set in as residents from the lower floors began evacuating, their faces etched with fear and confusion. But the real nightmare was just beginning. A young girl, no older than 7 or 8, appeared at the window, trapped by the inferno behind her. Her desperate cries for help cut through the noise of the street. The crowd below watched, helpless, their hearts in their throats. It felt like an eternity, with everyone praying for a miracle as the fire department was still en route. Just when all hope seemed lost, a figure emerged from the crowd. A young man, who we now know is named Ryan, didn't hesitate for a second. Without any protective gear, he started climbing the building's facade, using drain pipes and window ledges as precarious handholds. It was an unbelievable act of bravery. Every person on the ground held their breath, tracking his every move. He reached the 3rd floor, his own shirt starting to smolder from the intense heat. He managed to coax the terrified girl to climb out onto the ledge with him. He held her securely, preparing to get her down. Then, in a heart-stopping moment, he let air go. She dropped from the 3rd story, but it was a calculated move. Down below, a group of quick-thinking bystanders had formed a human safety net, linking their arms together. They caught her, breaking her fall. A collective sigh of relief and applause erupted from the crowd. But the hero's ordeal wasn't over. As the girl was whisked to safety, Ryan, exhausted and overcome by the smoke and heat, collapsed onto the ledge. His shirt was visibly burnt. Just as the sound of approaching sirens grew louder, brave onlookers rushed towards the building to help him. We are all hoping for the best for this incredible hero. We'll bring you more updates as they become available. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe for the latest on this developing story.